Good evening, everyone. Quick audio check. Am I audible to everybody? Please quickly type in the comments whether I'm audible or not. Yes. Okay. Good evening. Audible. Thank you, Vrinda. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Great. Okay, great. Thank you, Ria, Preeti, Vrinda, Anushri, Ali, Rashi. Okay, Sakshi. Okay, Hasika, Chala. Very good to see you guys here. Okay, great. Then what are we going to talk about today? Today's session is going to be a quick overview, a quick revision on what are the offenses relating to property, right? Again, an often repeated topic so far as the CLAT exam is concerned. काफी बार questions criminal के जब आते हैं तो ये offenses relating to property के ऊपर, you know, there are a lot of times that you might have a question. Now, majority of the times, what is this generally around? These are the basic things which are covered. You know, you have questions on theft, extortion, robbery, dacoity, criminal breach of trust, misappropriation. There are a few others like mischief and cheating, which also come within the category of, you know, offenses against property. But today's class, especially, I am going to cover these, and the reason being that they are very similar to each other, and बहुत बार इनके comparative questions आते हैं, right? Cheating और mischief जो है वो होते तो offenses against property ही है. You know, when you talk of mischief, you are basically talking of causing a destruction or causing harm to somebody's property, that to anybody's property, your own property or somebody else's property is considered as mischief. Similarly, cheating में भी ऐसा ही होता है कि भाई आप किसी की property के साथ आप cheat कर रहे हो and things like that. But here specifically what we are going to cover in today's class are these ones, because these inka comparison aata hai, you know, like once you start off with one, it leads to the next one, right? So therefore what we are going to focus on in today's session are theft, extortion, robbery, dacoity, criminal breach of trust, and misappropriation. Take, so everybody is with me on this? Yes, I hope everybody is excited for this quick revision, because, you know, for those of you who are appearing in the CLAT, that's next month, this could be a quick overview of the topics which you might have done some months back, and now you feel that, you know, maybe I do need a quick brush up on these. You realized over a period of time जब आप mocks दे रहे थे कि भाई ये mocks में मेरे marks in simple topics में क्यों गलत जा रहे हैं, right? Why am I losing marks here? जहाँ पे मेरे को आंख बंद करके marks मिलने चाहिए, where am I going wrong, right? So we'll discuss those nitty-gritties, small essentials which are involved in each of them. जहाँ पे भी अगर कुछ भी missing होगा, then your answer completely changes, right? So that's what we are going to do in today's session. So the first thing that we're going to discuss in today's class is going to be theft. अब हम theft से शुरू करेंगे. So theft में सबसे पहली बात क्या होगी, because it's a crime, तो आपका मेंजरिया बहुत important है. And whenever you talk of मेंजरिया, in all criminal wrongs, you know, what is the type of mensaria which is needed? What's the kind of mensaria that you're looking for in every crime is given in the IPC only, right? So जहां हम बोलते हैं crime में mensaria जरूरी है, किस तरह का mensaria होना चाहिए is provided in the definition of that offense itself, right? So the definition of the offense itself will provide you with the type of mensaria. When you talk of theft, like, you know, certain cases mensaria could be intention, like here when you're talking about theft, mensaria very clearly given has to be intention. Whereas other times, you know, when you look at the definition of murder, when you look at the definition of culpable homicide, वहां पे mensaria की definition थोड़ी different भी हो सकती है. वहां intention के पास knowledge के साथ knowledge भी होता है आपके definition में. Similarly, जब हम criminal negligence की बात करते हैं, तो वहां तो ना intention होगा, knowledge भी limited होता है, but the kind of mensaria needed is negligence, that you would not take due care. Right? So in a criminal wrong, whenever किसी भी टाइप का क्रिमिनल ऑफेंस का अगर क्वेश्चन आता है, यू नो दैट यू हैव टू लुक फॉर मेंस रिया, बट डोंट प्रिज्यूम। एक जनरली हमारी प्रिजम्पशन हो जाती है कि मेंस रिया का मतलब है इंटेंशन। ये वाली गलती हमने नहीं करनी है। यू नो, दिस इज अ मिस्टेक व्हिच वन टेंड्स टू मेक again and again, that mens rea means intention, not necessarily. Mens rea means a guilty mind. Okay, mens rea means a guilty mind which could be in different forms, which could be in the form of an intention, which could be in the form of knowledge, which could be in form of negligence. It could be any of these or any other form, but there has to be a guilty mind, right? So when you're talking about mens rea, that is something which you keep in mind. Okay, अब यहाँ पे theft में हमें कौन सा mens rea चाहिए? Theft में हमें चाहिए mens rea intention wala, right? So it says intending to take dishonestly. So there is an intention which is dishonest and you're taking something away, and dishonest means two things. Either you are causing a wrongful loss to somebody, right? तो यहाँ पे wrongful loss भी हो सकता है या wrongful gain to yourself. In either of the two things, wrongful loss मतलब उस बंदे को वो loss suffer नहीं करना था, but for you. And similarly, when we are talking about wrongful gain, that you do not have any right over that particular thing, फिर भी आपने वो profit ले लिया है. Like if you pick up somebody's pen in the classroom and you put it in your pocket and move away, right? There, what are you doing? You do not have a right over the pen. आपने अपने आप को wrongful gain claim किया है, and दूसरे बंदे को आपने wrongful loss cause किया है. Right? So there has to be a wrongful loss and wrongful gain, either of the two things, not necessarily both. That is going to be your intention, which is dishonest. दूसरी चीज क्या आती है जब हम बोलते हैं theft? Very, very important, always related to movable property. तो immovable property का threat नहीं, का कभी भी theft नहीं होता है. So whenever there is a concept of theft, or you say that offense of theft has happened, it will always relate to a movable property, right? So somebody says that, there's theft happened of a person's house. No, nobody can, commit a theft of the house. There can be a theft of things which are inside the house, right? So, but उस movable property का per se आपका theft नहीं होता है, right? So whenever we talk of movable property, how do you define it? Is that you say anything which is permanently attached to the earth, right? So give me quick examples of movable property, things which are permanently attached to the earth, which are considered as movable property. Not sorry, immovable property, because जो permanently attached है वो immovable property होंगे जिनकी theft नहीं हो सकता. On the other hand, you have property which are movable, which can be moved, that means which are not attached to the earth. Quick. A tree will be something which is permanently attached. Yes. So Arya is saying house, Vedant is saying house, Gargi is saying building, Rashi house, Preet tree, house, building, tree, house, Lalit, Vrinda. Okay, great. So tree, house, plants, all things are attached to the earth. What was the door of a house? अगर किसी का दरवाजा है घर का, वो क्या होगा? Movable या immovable? Door. Door. I'm not talking the entire house. I'm just talking about the door. Is this movable or is this immovable? Okay, I'm getting more immovable property. Ke example, towel, right? Door, is it movable or immovable? It is immovable. So long as it is attached, it will be considered as immovable, because it is not something which is detachable very easily. On the other hand, what about a fan, a light bulb rather? What about a bulb which is hanging from the ceiling? Is it movable or is it immovable? Door is something which is फिक्स्ड, राइट? अगर आपको उसको मूव करना है, उसको आपको स्क्रूज खोलने पड़ेंगे, उसको कुछ ना कुछ तोड़ना पड़ेगा, ना, देयर विल बी एन एंटायर प्रोसेस which will be involved in actually trying to detach it, right? So therefore a door would be considered as an immovable property, whereas when you are talking about a light bulb क्या permanently attached होता है? नहीं, बल्ब तो बार बार फ्यूज होते हैं और आप उनको चेंज करते रहते हो, right? So that is considered to be movable, right? Something which is easily moved, which can be easily moved, which is not really permanently fixed to the earth, that is going to be something which is generally considered as a movable property. Okay, जो permanently, that is why law बोलता है जो permanently attached है. बल्ब परमानेंटली अटैच नहीं है, पर डोर जो है वो परमानेंटली अटैच्ड है. बल्ब तो टाइम एंड अगेन चेंज होता है. So this is going to be considered as immovable, whereas a bulb is going to be considered as a movable property. Somebody here in the comments was telling me that about fruits, that Preet is saying a tree grounded to the earth is immovable, but fruit on tree taken away movable. Yes, but what if the fruit is still on the tree? तब क्या होगा वो? This is your tree and you have a lot of mangoes. You know, I love mangoes. और अभी mango season शुरू हो गया, so you have this mango tree here. So इस mango tree के जो mangoes हैं, ये क्या है? Movable है या immovable है? They're still hanging on the tree. What are these? Movable or immovable? Quickly tell me. These yummy orange colored mangoes which are hanging here. They are going to be immovable. Why? Because they are permanently attached. They are not something जो कि आपने एक बार प्लग कर दिया तो आप ऊपर चिपका सकते हो क्या वापस? नहीं, right? That is something which is permanently attached. It is not something which is लगा दिया निकाल दिया kind of a situation, right? जब तक वो ऊपर पेड़ से चिपका हुआ है, it is something which is permanently attached to the earth. So it is going to be an immovable property. But the moment you sever it, that severance will make it movable, will turn it into movable. And important बात क्या आती है theft में, कि law बोलता है कि जैसे ही आप sever करते हो, this act of severance, this act of separating, जब आप immovable को movable में convert करते हो, that amounts to moving of the property, which is something which is very, very essential when you talk of theft. Because theft में क्या बोलते हैं कि without with a dishonest intention, किसी भी immovable property को अगर आप move करते हो, the moment you move the property, that itself amounts to theft. Whether you are actually able to move it out of the possession of the person, जो कि आपका intention था, तो थेफ्ट में इंटेंशन होता है कि हमें मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी को किसी बंदे के पोजेशन से मूव करना है. वेदर यू आर एक्चुअली एबल टू मूव इट कंप्लीटली आउट ऑफ द पोजेशन, दैट will not make a difference so long as you are just able to move it. तो इसीलिए बहुत बार वो क्वेश्चन आता है एग्जाम में, जब you have this person who goes to a person's house and wants to steal something, right? तो उसने देखा कि बड़ी बहुत ही अमेजिंग सी एक एंटीक वॉच पड़ी है and you really want to take it away. So what do? You pick up that watch with the dishonest intention of taking it out of the possession of that person without the consent of the owner जिसकी वो watch है. What did you do? You just pick up the watch and you move towards the door. You're moving towards the door, तभी वो owner आ गया, and you leave the watch on the next table. Can you be held liable for theft, or will you be held liable for attempt to commit theft? Which of the two? Option 1 says this is theft and option 2 says this is attempt to commit theft. इन दोनों में से कौन सा होगा ये? Because आपने watch उठाई with the intention of moving it out of the person's possession without his consent, और जैसे ही आप डोर पे पहुंचे तभी आपको निकलने लगे थे, तभी वो बंदा मिल गया, तो you just left it on the table next to the main door. Will this be attempt or will this be theft? this is going to be theft, right? Lalit, Anushri, Arya, good. Shivang, bacha, this is going to be theft. This is not attempt. Attempt क्या होता है? Attempt होता है कि आप move भी नहीं कर पाए हो, right? The moment you move it, this fact of moving itself, this act of moving itself amounts to theft, right? तो जहां हम theft की बात करते हैं, it is not essential that you have to actually move it out of the person's possession, but if you have moved the property even a little with the intention of moving it out of possession, तो फिर वहीं पे आपका theft का offense complete हो जाता है. आपको पूरा पोजेशन से बाहर निकालने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. इट इज समथिंग लाइक somebody is trying to pick your pocket. आप बस में ट्रैवल कर रहे हो और पीछे से कोई आया बंदा और आपका वॉलेट पिक करना चाहता है. जैसे उसने हाथ डाला एंड ही जस्ट ट्राइड टू पुल द वॉलेट, यू होल्ड हिज हैंड. कैन ही बी लायबल फॉर थेफ्ट? आपका वॉलेट अभी आपकी जेब के अंदर ही है, but he's just moved it a little, he just tried to pull it out. That's when you felt it, that somebody is fiddling with your wallet. Would this be theft? Yes, this is going to be theft, right? Very, very important. Little tricky कि बॉस जैसे ही आप थोड़ा सा भी मूव करोगे with the intention, it is going to amount to theft. And यहाँ पे अब मूवेबल इमूवेबल में ये क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है कि जैसे ही आप सेपरेट करते हो, जैसे ही आप सेवर करते हो एक मैंगो को मैंगो ट्री से, द मोमेंट यू प्लक दैट मैंगो, व्हाट आर यू डूइंग? यू आर सेपरेटिंग इट एंड दैट सेपरेशन इटसेल्फ अमाउंट्स टू मूविंग, राइट? तो अगर आपने किसी का मैंगो के ट्री से मैंगो अभी तोड़ा ही है, अभी उसको लेके भाग भी नहीं पाए हो, फिर भी यू आर गोइंग टू बी लायबल फॉर थेफ्ट, right? So the moment you sever it, that severance amounts to theft. Okay. Now next point, इसमें क्या आ जाता है? Out of possession, right? तो अब that means out of possession मतलब presumption is that that thing should be in possession. अगर possession में ही नहीं है आपके चीज तो फिर theft नहीं होगा. And when we are talking about possession here, possession would not always mean physical possession, right? Which means कि अगर आपकी गाड़ी नीचे पार्क्ड है और आप कहीं ऊपर पिक्चर देख रहे हो, राइट, किसी मूवी हॉल में बैठ के, और आपकी गाड़ी पीछे से कोई उठा के ले जाए, will that still be theft? Will that still be considered theft? Because आपकी गाड़ी तो आपके possession में थी नहीं. You are watching a movie and that car was parked in the parking when it was stolen, when the theft occurred, when the so-called offense against you occurred. So will it be theft still? Yes, right? It will still be theft. And why is that? Because यहाँ पे possession जो है, जरूरी नहीं है कि हम actual possession की बात कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि actual के साथ साथ यहाँ पे this possession could also be constructive, या जिसको हम बोलते हैं legal possession कई बार, right? Constructive और legal possession, कि भाई वो चीज जो है आपके mental possession में है, आपके constructive possession में है, आपके legal possession में है, right? Mentally it is in your possession, constructively अलग अलग चीजें आपके पास है, right? So in all those scenarios, you say the possession is still with you because that car is still under your control. Because like Shivang is telling me, कि ma'am, the keys are with me. Yes, the keys are with you. That means the thing is still in your possession, right? तो फिर ये possession वाला point हमेशा, this is how you deal with it, right? Next is when you talk about without the person's consent. तो जहां consent नहीं है वहां पे ही theft होगा, right? अगर मैंने consent दे दिया तो theft नहीं हो सकता. If I tell you, you are asking me that, boss, can I take your car, and I take your car away, can that be theft? No. And but if I put a gun on your head and I ask you for your car keys, एकदम broad daylight highway robbery है, आप बीच में आप हिमाचल में कहीं घूम रहे थे और आपने एक बहुत सुंदर सी सीनिक जगह देखी और आप रुक गए कि चलो थोड़ी थोड़ी फोटोग्राफी कर लेते हैं. आप वहां फोटो खिंचवाने लगे और तभी पीछे से 4 गुंडे कार में बैठ के आए and they put a gun on your head and they said, boss, car keys, right? And you give the car keys and then they drive away with your car. Can that be theft? Will those people be liable for theft here? होंगे? Will that be theft? That would be theft. Yes, Shivang is, no, I'm not asking which offense. I'm saying, is it theft? क्वेश्चन में और कुछ नहीं दिया क्या, क्वेश्चन पैसेज आपका सिर्फ थेफ्ट का है, तो हमें ये पूछना है कि भाई ये थेफ्ट है या नहीं. Will this be considered as theft or not? The passage only is talking about these 5 ingredients which have to be present अगर theft हो रहा है तो. क्या ये theft है या नहीं है? Yes or no? Arya Shivang are telling me this is robbery. I am not asking you whether this is robbery or not, or which offense is this. I'm asking whether this is theft or not theft. Which option will you pick? Ashka is saying yes. Preet is saying yes कि भाई ये theft है. No, this is not theft, right? What will we say कि भाई ये theft नहीं है, right? This is not going to be theft because theft में consent नहीं होता. यहाँ पे consent आपने दिया है, right? So here what are you doing? When somebody puts a gun on your head, you're actually agreeing to it. When you're agreeing to it, at that point in time, consent आप दे रहे हो, चाहे आपका consent free नहीं है, right? It was not given freely, but consent was still there. If consent is there, it's not going to be theft, right? That's one thing we keep in mind. अच्छा, Jia is saying, ma'am, what if we don't have the keys? वो पुराने वाले example में जब हम picture देख रहे थे, ma'am, if we don't have the keys, let's take a situation that keys fell from the pocket. तो अगर आपकी keys आपकी pocket से गिर भी गई हैं, तो फिर क्या होगा? Will it be theft or not theft? The keys fell from your pocket and they were lying somewhere in the rubble, किसी से डस्टबिन में कहीं पड़ा है, और पीछे से आपकी कार ऐसे ही चोरी हो जाती है, like somebody just picks up your car and runs away with it while you're watching the movie. Will it still be theft or no? The keys are not in your pocket, the key fell from your pocket. Would it mean that you do not have constructive possession over your car? You will still have constructive possession or not have. Come on, quickly tell me. Theft or no theft then? अगर चाबी गिर गई है और गाड़ी ऐसे ही चोरी हो जाती है, theft होगा या नहीं होगा? Theft will still be there. It will be theft. The fact that you have the possession of the car is not only going to be dependent on the fact that you had the keys, right? That's the fact that you have a constructive possession, a mental possession over that car, right? So even if you've lost the keys, that doesn't mean you've lost the car. The only thing lost are the keys, right? But still the car is still very much yours, right? That doesn't mean that वो उसकी कार का theft नहीं हो सकता, right? So car, it is still going to be theft. Okay, so keep that in mind that वो theft फिर भी वहां पे रहेगा even if the car keys are gone. Okay, चलो, that is generally. Now whenever there's a question on theft, ensure कि पांचों की पांचों चीजें जो हैं होनी चाहिए. Always remember, whenever there are ingredients of any offense, all of them have to be present, right? Even if one of them is missing, then that particular offense is not made out and you cannot be held liable for that offense. So just make sure that all the ingredients are present. अगर इनमें से कुछ भी एक missing होगा तो आपका theft हम count नहीं कर सकते. ठीक, that is okay, chalo, let's. Khushi had put in a comment and then it seems like she has retracted it. Okay, chalo, Khushi agar dobara aata hai, because it was a longish sort of a thing. I'm just about to read and then it just vanished from there. Chalo, then that was theft. Let's move on to something which is very, very close to theft, which is known as extortion, right? So ab extortion kya hota hai? Extortion is again something which is very close to theft. Why? Because यहाँ पे भी property involved है. अब यहाँ पे there are couple of things which are important when you look at the essentials of extortion. In extortion, the person gives the property. There is a here important thing is when you talk of extortion, in theft consent नहीं था. In extortion जो है आपने consent दिया है because of an imminent threat of injury, right? तो ये चीज यहाँ पे नहीं होती है, जिसकी वजह से extortion जो है वो theft से अलग हो जाता है. थेफ्ट में कोई इमिनेंट थ्रेट या इंजरी नहीं है, whereas जब हम एक्सटॉर्शन देखते हैं, एक्सटॉर्शन, जस्ट अ सेकेंड, एक्सटॉर्शन का पूरा बेसिस होता है ऑन थ्रेट ऑफ इंजरी, राइट, कि थ्रेट है आपके अगेंस्ट, कोई इंजरी होने वाली है किसी तरह का. एंड हियर व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंजरी, इंजरी डज नॉट ओनली मीन्स फिजिकल इंजरी, इट कुड मीन इंजरी टू योर प्रॉपर्टी, इट कुड मीन इंजरी टू योर रेप्यूटेशन, एनी काइंड ऑफ इंजरी वुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज एक्सटॉर्शन, राइट. जब हम एक्सटॉर्शन की बात करते हैं, एक्सटॉर्शन का इंजरी का जो एम्बिट है वो काफी वाइड होता है. बिफोर आई कंटिन्यू, एक खुशी का एक क्वेश्चन था, I'll just read that. She says, ma'am, if passage talks of theft and that only free consent is consent, then it will be theft. Bacha, if the passage talks of theft, देखो कंसेंट थेफ्ट में होता ही नहीं है, ठीक है ना. तो अगर थेफ्ट की बात कर रहा है, थेफ्ट इज ऑलवेज विदाउट कंसेंट. इनफैक्ट दैट्स द मेजर डिफरेंस बिटवीन एक्सटॉर्शन एंड थेफ्ट, कि थेफ्ट में जो है वो कंसेंट होता ही नहीं है, whereas एक्सटॉर्शन में हमेशा कंसेंट होता है, पर वो कंसेंट कभी भी फ्री नहीं होता, right? That consent is never given freely. That consent is given because of an imminent threat and injury. ये threat and injury की वजह से आपने consent दिया है, आपने consent अपना freely नहीं दिया. तो extortion में consent होगा, but consent is not free. It is something like जैसे contract में बोलते हैं ना भाई no free consent, तो एक्सटॉर्शन भी एकदम नो फ्री कंसेंट सिचुएशन में आती है हमारी. यहाँ पे आप बोल रहे हो इमिनेंट थ्रेट है, इंजरी है, जिसकी वजह से एक्सटॉर्शन हुआ है, राइट. मेंटल इंजरी, सी इंजरी हैज टू बी समथिंग नियर मेंटल इंजरी नहीं, बट इट हैज टू बी देयर हैज टू बी सम मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ द इंजरी. जैसे कई बार आपकी इंजरी टू रेपुटेशन हो सकती है, right? There could be a fear that somebody says that I have these pictures of you and I'll post them online, right? If you don't give me 10 lakh rupees, and you fear कि भाई अगर वो pictures कहीं social media में release कर दी, then it's going to harm your reputation. Maybe आपके business को बहुत फर्क पड़ेगा उससे, right? So any kind of harm like this would be considered as an injury. Or somebody says that if you do not if you do not give me an X amount, deliver an X amount of money or something, then in that case, I am going to, let's say, kidnap your son or something, right? Then that's again a threat which is there. It's an imminent threat which is there, and जिसकी वजह से आपने अपना consent दिया है, ठीक है. तो वो theft जो आपका consent है वो कभी भी free नहीं है. It is because of a fear of injury, right? Now, when you are talking about this particular this particular criminal offense, then यहाँ पे again intention आता है note, right? So intention is going to be there. Intention है intention to cause that injury, intention to threat to cause that injury, so that the delivery of that thing is there. अब एक और चीज क्या इंपॉर्टेंट होती है, it says such person tends to cause injury to another in which he seeks interest, right? So here this injury may not be something which is targeted at you, right? So I might not be saying that I'll kidnap you or I'll abduct you, rather I might say that I will kidnap your son. तो यहाँ पे injury is not being inflicted at me, but that इंजरी जिसके ऊपर वो इन्फ्लिक्ट हो रही है उसमें मेरा कुछ ना कुछ इंटरेस्ट होना चाहिए. If it is not something which is of any interest to me, then it will not be considered as extortion, right? So यहाँ पे जो इंजरी है वो it should have some relation, okay? And it's not essential that the injury has to be caused to me only. It could be anybody else जिसमें मुझे interest है, right? So either of the two ways there has to be some sort of an injury, right? So, okay, GI is saying, what if a person threatens to reveal some illegal activity then? If it is a threat to, let's say illegal activity, maybe आप drugs की smuggling करते हो, and somebody says that if you don't give me 10,000 rupees, then I'll go and tell the police that you smuggle drugs. Now, will this amount to extortion? Yes or no? Come on, everybody tell me. will this amount to extortion, that you are carrying on illegal activity, आप drug peddling करते हो, and the other person is threatening you that if you don't tell me, then this drug peddling thing, then it is going to amount to then I will go and tell the police. What's going to be the answer for that? Yes, I'm waiting. Yes, let me just see. Okay, I'm getting yes, yes, no, yes. अब देखो यहाँ पे ये बोल रहा है an act which causes threat and injury. अब इंजरी तो होगा ही उसको कहीं ना कहीं. It may be an illegal act, right? तो act तो illegal है यहाँ पे, but would this amount to extortion? Now the idea is whenever there is extortion, the consent should not be there, right? If the consent is given freely, तो फिर वो आपका extortion होगा, otherwise not. तो यहाँ पे क्या आपका consent freely given था? No. So on that count, it appears that is it will be extortion. दूसरी चीज आती है कि यहाँ पे there is a threat that some injury would be caused, right? तो अब यहाँ पे is this injury? Yes, it might affect you financially. अगर आपके बिजनेस का पता चल जाएगा किसी को, तो आपको पुलिस अरेस्ट करके ले जाएगी, राइट? तो इन अ वे, इवन इफ इट इज फॉर एन इलीगल एक्ट, इट स्टिल अमाउंट टू एक्सटॉर्शन, right? Extortion ka somebody here is telling me it may be blackmail, Shivang is saying, but it may not be extortion. Extortion क्या होता है? It is another name, a fancier, जिसको बोलते हैं ना आजकल euphemistic kind of a name for blackmail, right? In very plain language, blackmail extortion भी तो होता है, राइट? तो अब अगर मैं ब्लैकमेल करूंगी, भाई अगर तुमने if you don't like your, sometimes your sibling does that to you, if you don't give me the let me ride your bike, I will tell dad कि भाई आपने उनका you were watching TV till 2 at night yesterday. So what is that? That is also extortion. Extortion is another form of blackmail only. So blackmail and extortion are not something which are far away. ठीक है ना? वो लीगली आप जो ब्लैकमेल आप नॉर्मल टर्म यूज करते हो, वो ही लीगल टर्म्स या क्रिमिनल टर्म्स में आप उसको एक्सटॉर्शन बोलते हो, राइट? सो एक्सटॉर्शन एंड ब्लैकमेल आर क्वाइट द सेम. ओके, सो इन दैट केस आल्सो इट्स गोइंग टू बी एक्सटॉर्शन. फिर नेक्स्ट चीज क्या आती है? एन अनरीजनेबल फोर्स शुड बी सीन दो थ्रू विच अ पर्सन सीक्स टू टेक दैट प्रॉपर्टी. नाउ अनरीजनेबल फोर्स का क्या मतलब है यहाँ पे? व्हाट आर दे ट्राइंग टू से? दैट there, when you are saying कि threat है, तो threat ऐसा होना चाहिए that you feel that the other person can actually carry out the threat, right? It shouldn't mean that there was no apprehension created in your mind, right? That fear, that apprehension जो threat है वो आपके mind में create होना चाहिए, तभी वहां पे वो extortion कहलाया जाएगा, right? If the facts show that there is nothing which actually created fear in your mind, that means the consent which you gave was very much valid. Because end of the day हम extortion को क्यों extortion बोल रहे हैं? क्योंकि आपका consent था, पर आपको consent freely नहीं दिया था. बट अगर यहाँ पे आपको लगता है कि बॉस ये बंदा ये इंजरी आपको कॉज कर ही नहीं सकता, दैट मीन्स आपको कभी थ्रेट हुआ ही नहीं दिमाग में. अगर आपको थ्रेट ही नहीं हुआ, तो फिर आपका जो कंसेंट था that was given freely, and if the consent was given freely, it is not going to amount to extortion. Right? So we have to keep that tricky thing also in our mind when we see whether there is a threat of injury or not. Right? Now, next is when we say, so it can be concluded if a person commits an offense. Now, यहाँ पे सारी की सारी चीजें होंगी तो वो extortion होगा. कुछ भी मिसिंग होगा, that means अगर आपको लग ही नहीं रहा कि थ्रेट है, अगर थ्रेट था ही नहीं, अगर आपका इंटरेस्ट नहीं था इन द ऑन द पर्सन जिसको इंजरी कॉज हो रही है, which again points out to the same thing that you did not feel any kind of fear. अगर fear नहीं था तो consent आपने validly दिया था, right? So all the things there, extortion. Anything missing? No extortion. Okay, Anshika is asking, ma'am, in this profession of drug peddling won't affect that it's unlawful. See, it is unlawful. But here, is it प्रोवाइडेड इन द एसेंशियल की इंजरी जो है वो लॉफुल ही कोई होनी चाहिए, इंजरी तो इंजरी है, राइट? अब वो आपको लॉफुल तरीके से हो रही है, अनलॉफुल, दैट इज समथिंग एल्स, राइट? सो एक्सटॉर्शन तो कंसेंट से रिलेटेड है एंड इंजरी से रिलेटेड है, right? So it might be something you're doing lawfully. We are not, nobody's challenging your actions, but so far as of only this is concerned, then it could still be extortion. Chalo, let's move on now. A little bit of comparison between theft and extortion, because you do get questions in which एक ही fact situation दिया होता है, आपको check करना है कि भैया theft है या extortion है. सबसे important difference theft और extortion में आता है consent का. What we just discussed also कि भैया theft में consent नहीं होता है, extortion में consent होता है but free नहीं होता है, right? Theft is only for movable properties, right? Whereas extortion could be both movable and immovable. Why? Because here we are saying you are forced to deliver something. In extortion, you are delivering something. Now this delivery could be like, a movable property कि भैया आपने घड़ी पहनी हुई है, somebody puts a gun on your head and asks for your watch, right? So you open your watch and you give it to him. That's delivery of a movable property. But somebody, you puts a gun on your head and says that you move out of the house, and you got to stay out of the house, and this house is going to be mine, right? Or somebody says they delivered some documents. So उन्होंने documents deliver करे आपको, which transfer the rights in that property to the other person, whoever is the holder of that property. Now, if that is the scenario, then even though it is, just a piece of paper, but that piece of paper can be converted into something of value. And that something of value might be a immovable property, right? A non-movable property. So it could be either of the two scenarios, right? Okay. I hope Arya is saying screen is blurring. I hope it's clear now. Okay, I'm hoping that's there. Chalo. Next, let's move on to robbery. अब robbery क्या होता है? It's one step ahead of theft and extortion. So in robbery, there will either be theft or extortion. दोनों में से एक का होना जरूरी है. There cannot be a robbery jahan na theft hai na extortion hai. Both of them are going to be there whenever there is going to be a robbery. Okay. Okay. Siddhi has a doubt. Let me just take it up before I move on with robbery. She's saying if a person A visits someone's house B and asks him to accompany to an outdoor place and to go out without informing B's family member, will A be committing theft? No. Theft is of movable property. Bhai, insan, a person is not property. Always remember, person is different from property. Okay, person, property, same चीज नहीं है, वो अलग अलग चीजें हैं, right? They're not going to be the same thing. Okay, so when you're talking about the case of theft is only vis-a-vis property. It is not vis-a-vis person. तो पर्सन में थेफ्ट नहीं हो सकता. तो ये कई बार क्वेश्चन आता है, कई बार वो ए बी को ही ले जा रहा होता है, कई बार बोलते हैं ए बी के सन को ले जाता है. तो अगर वो ए बी के सन को उसकी परमिशन के बगैर ले जा रहा है, would it amount to theft? No, it would amount to the wrong of किडनैपिंग, राइट? अगर वो माइनर है तो वो किडनैपिंग हो सकता है, पर वो थेफ्ट फिर भी नहीं होगा. ठीक है ना? चलो नेक्स्ट लेट्स स्टार्ट विद रॉबरी. अब रॉबरी में क्या होता है? इन रॉबरी, like I was saying, either there is theft or there is extortion. दोनों में से एक होगा आपका. So when do we say a theft converts into robbery? When there is some amount of force which is involved. अगर आपका force involved है in doing what? In committing the theft. ठीक, अगर आप theft को commit करते हुए force use कर रहे हो, या फिर in carrying away or attempting to carry away property obtained by theft, then in that case it is going to be robbery. राइट. अब ये फोर्स की भी डेफिनेशन स्पेसिफिकली प्रोवाइड करी हुई है. व्हाट डज इट से? पर्सन या you've caused death, hurt, wrongful restraint, fear of instant death, instant hurt, or wrongful restraint. Which means this force, whether it is used or there is a fear created, that force will be used. In both the scenarios, it is going to be considered as robbery. That means, you've, like in this picture, now in this picture, it could be two things. It could be one, I've entered into the bank and if you look at this scenario, this bank manager को बोला कि भैया ये सारी की सारी तिजोरी से थैले में डालो and थैला मेरे हाथ में दे दो at the point of gun. Right? Now tell me, is this theft happening? थेफ्ट के साथ फोर्स यूज कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं अलग बात है. पहले सबसे पहले बताओ क्या ये थेफ्ट है? Is this picture correct here? Is it even theft? The fact that this person is putting everything, he's telling चलो वो अलमारी तिजोरी खोलो, तिजोरी खोल के सारे थैले में सारे के सारे अच्छे अच्छे ग्रीन ग्रीन नोट डालो और उसके बाद give me that थैला and you pointing the gun at him. Is this theft? This is not theft because यहाँ पे what is happening? This guy is giving consensually, he's giving the थैला to you. That bag full of money, वो तो कंसेंट करके दे रहा है ना आपको. अगर वो कंसेंट करके दे रहा है तो ये तो थेफ्ट है ही नहीं. ये क्या है? ये है एक्सटॉर्शन, जो कि अब क्या कन्वर्ट हो गया है? रॉबरी. राइट. ये तो एक्सटॉर्शन कन्वर्टेड इनटू रॉबरी का एग्जांपल है बिकॉज ये थेफ्ट है ही नहीं. थेफ्ट में तो आपका कंसेंट नहीं होता है. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, theft में you do not consent to give the thing. So theft converting into robbery कौन सा होगा example? Like you enter into somebody's property, आप घर में चुपचाप चोरी करने के लिए घुसे थे, तभी that guy who you thought is outside the house is actually in the toilet. He comes out of the toilet and he's like, he sees you there. So in order to run away with all the stolen goods, what do? You punch him. आपने उसको पंच किया और आप भाग गए थैला उठा के सामान का. तो फिर क्या होगा? theft which is now turned into robbery. Right? So here you have actually caused hurt to the person in order to carry away the property. Right? So अगर आप carry away the property में किसी को hurt cause कर रहे हो, that is going to be theft. Right? Theft converted into robbery. या फिर आप किसी का death cause कर रहे हो, या फिर even अगर आप fear create कर रहे हो किसी के mind में. Right? So you know that you are like in this case, like if instead of punching the person, you have a gun in your hand and you point the gun onto the person's face and you say, don't move, I am going out. अगर तुमने थोड़ी कोई भी हरकत करी तो I'll shoot you. And then you open the door and run away. तो अब यहाँ पे क्या किया? यहाँ पे did you really use the force? आपने फोर्स यूज नहीं करा है यहाँ पे, पर आपने फियर क्रिएट करा है कि फोर्स यूज हो सकता है. और अगर आपने सिर्फ फियर भी क्रिएट किया है कि बॉस फोर्स यूज हो सकता है, then that would also amount to robbery. Right? So for robbery it is not essential कि force use होना चाहिए. Fear of force use होना is also going to be robbery. Right? So in either of the two cases, वो theft यहाँ पे हमारा robbery हो रहा है. Similarly, like it says, committing theft, तो theft के commission में किसी भी समय हो सकता है. Carrying away or attempting to carry away. Right? So if you are, let's say, you are running, आप you were thinking आराम से आप चोरी कर रहे थे, आपको लगा कि 4 दिन के लिए ये लोग तो छुट्टी गए हुए हैं Maldives and I can easily commit theft, right? So आपने सोचा कि चलो थोड़ी देर बैठ के फ्रिज से थोड़ी ठंडी सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक भी निकाल के पी लेता हूँ, चिप्स वगैरह पड़े हैं थोड़े खा लेता हूँ. You were busy doing all that and you were also going through the valuables, अलमारी तोड़ के आप पूरे सामान कलेक्ट कर रहे थे and इतने में मेन डोर खुल जाता है and you realize all those people who were supposed to be gone for vacation, उनका vacation सब cancel हो गया और वो घर वापस आ गए. So what do? You, in order to run away, you just pick up some heavy showpiece which was lying in the drawing room जहाँ पे आप बैठे हुए थे, आपने किसी के सिर पे मारा and आप पीछे वाली खिड़की से जंप मार के भाग गए. अब यहाँ पे will it be theft which has converted into robbery? Will this be theft which has converted into robbery? Yes or no? Ma'am, if fear is created in robbery as well, as how differentiated from extortion? Wait, bacha, we are just on that, because see, extortion and robbery, extortion and theft में सबसे important फर्क क्या होता है कि दूसरा बंदा आपको चीज दे रहा है because of fear. यहाँ पे आप किसी से ले नहीं रहे हो because of fear, but rather you're taking it and you're running, right? Okay, so here that is the, when you take it and you run, that is when it is theft converting into robbery. You put a gun on somebody's head और आप उसके हाथ से या उसके उसके हाथ से उसका बैग छीन के भाग जाओगे, that is going to be robbery, which was theft turned into robbery. On the other hand, आपको कोई दे रहा है, then that is going to be extortion turned into robbery, right? So there is a difference between the consent part when you look at robbery and theft. Take. So what about the previous question which I was giving you guys? I was saying that, okay, that entire scenario of you throwing a heavy showpiece on that person and running away, तो उसमें क्या होगा? Will that be robbery? No, that will not be robbery. Why? Because you're not carrying anything away. Now, in the earlier example, you will actually trying to carry somebody away, something away, जो stolen आपकी property थी और आपने किसी को gun दिखाई थी. At that time, it was theft which had converted into robbery. On the other hand, in the second scenario, if you just, you are using force just to get away from the situation, you were using force in order that you do not get caught, then in that case, it is not going to be robbery. It is only going to be causing hurt, right? Theft हो सकता है क्योंकि आपने मूव करी प्रॉपर्टी, एंड यू विल बी लायबल फॉर कॉजिंग हर्ट. तो वहां दो सेपरेट ऑफेंसेस होंगे, वन ऑफ कॉजिंग हर्ट एंड द अदर वन ऑफ थेफ्ट, पर रॉबरी वहां पे नहीं होगा, राइट? सो इफ योर ऑप्शन सेज दैट you've committed theft, ये हो सकता है that if you had been collecting stuff to steal, or if your option says you've caused hurt, तो वो hurt भी correct है, right? But if your principle is only about theft and robbery, which is going to be the correct option? The option which says that you've caused hurt, or the option which says that you've committed theft? Obviously the one which says you've committed theft, because हमारा principle theft के बारे में है, तो hurt even though cause करा भी है आपने, उसकी liability होगी या नहीं होगी, that is not something which should be your answer, right? Your answer will be limited to the offense of theft, right? Chalo, let's move on in that case. And this was robbery jab theft se hua hai. Next is robbery jab extortion se hota hai, right? So here is when we are saying that extortion converts into robbery. Yahan pe kya hai? Magic word aata hai instant, right? Magic word आता है instant जब robbery extortion में convert होता है. Instant death, instant hurt, instant wrongful restraint. अगर ये instant है, then in that case it is going to be robbery, right? So there is a fear which is created कि भाई I put a gun in your head and I tell you that give me that sack of money, right? So that give me that sack of money with a gun pointing at your head, and you give it to me in my hand. Why? Because you fear कि अगर मैंने नहीं दिया तो instantaneously मेरे को death cause होगी, right? या फिर instantaneously obviously मेरे को hurt cause होगा. अगर मरी नहीं तो चोट तो पक्का लगनी है, right? Then in that case also it is going to be theft which is converting into extortion which is getting converted into robbery. और लास्ट वाला क्या आता है? ऑफ इंस्टेंट wrongful restraint. तो यहाँ भी अगेन सिमिलर. इंस्टेंट क्या है? wrongful restraint. wrongful restraint क्या होता है? दैट यू आर stopped from going in a particular direction, right? It is different from wrongful confinement. wrongful confinement होता है कि आपको कहीं बंद कर देंगे. wrongful restraint होता है कि भाई आपको restrain कर दिया जाएगा कि आप किसी भी एक particular जगह से या एक particular movement आपकी रोकी जा रही है, right? So if you are not allowed to move in a particular direction, that is also किसी भी इनमें से किसी भी तरह का fear जो कि instant है. instant मतलब immediate. That is going to be robbery, which means that if I say that boss, I give you a call that अगर तुमने मुझे अभी 10 लाख रुपए नहीं दिए then in that case, tomorrow your son will be kidnapped from school. कि कल जो तुम्हारा बेटा अभी हॉस्टल में समर कैंप के लिए गया है, वो सुबह वापस आने वाला है, वो सुबह वापस नहीं आएगा. Like if that is the kind of threat which is there, then that will remain extortion. वो रॉबरी तक नहीं पहुंचेगा क्योंकि वो थ्रेट अभी इमीडिएट या इंस्टेंट नहीं है. On the other hand, if I say that I know, boss, your son is in that camp, समर वैली कैंप जो चल रहा है, वहां पे मैंने देखा है तुम्हारा बेटा अभी बास्केटबॉल टीम में फुटबॉल टीम में गोली बना हुआ है, and if you don't give me 10 lakhs right away, then I'm going to ensure that he gets picked up from that football field. Then in that case there is an instant fear कि आपके बच्चे को हर्ट कॉज होने वाली है, राइट? तो जहां इंस्टेंट फियर आता है, देन द एक्सटॉर्शन टर्न्स इनटू रॉबरी. वेयरएज अगर इंस्टेंट फियर नहीं है, ये फियर लेटर ऑन के लिए कि भाई अगर आपने ये नहीं किया तो ये होगा बाद में. अगर बाद में वाला है, इमीडिएट इंस्टेंट वाली बात नहीं है, तो फिर वो एक्सटॉर्शन रह जाएगा. बट अगर इमीडिएट वाली है तो वो क्या होगा? रॉबरी, राइट? तो अगर इंस्टेंट है तो रॉबरी होगा, इंस्टेंट नहीं है तो नहीं होगा. ओके, दैट वाज, आई विल जस्ट टेक अप वन डाउट हियर. रिया बोल रही थी, so ma'am, in robbery one of the essentials that person has to carry out theft along with force. Yes, theft, you're carrying out theft with force. In extortion you putting a fear of instant death, and when you're carrying out a theft वहां पे carrying out the theft, committing the theft or carrying away the goods. Okay, अगर goods carry नहीं कर रहे हो, goods को छोड़ के अपने आप को बचा रहे हो, तो theft नहीं होता, तो theft ही होता है, तो robbery नहीं होता, right? So that is not going to be robbery. Okay, चलो. And extortion कब robbery होता है? जब instant immediate threat है. अगर instant immediate threat नहीं है तो वो theft, तो वो extortion ही रहेगा, वो robbery नहीं रहेगा. Now somebody here was asking me the difference between robbery and extortion. Okay, Khushi is saying, ma'am, fear is created in robbery as well as theft, as well as extortion. How do we differentiate? बच्चा, robbery में देखो, अगर robbery theft से हो रही है आपकी, तो डिफरेंस क्लियर होता है. एक्सटॉर्शन में आपने कोई चीज दी है, किसी को डिलीवर करी है कंसेंट से, राइट? फ्री कंसेंट नहीं था, पर कंसेंशुअली आपने डिलीवर करा है प्रॉपर्टी, तो वो थेफ्ट कन्वर्टेड इनटू रॉबरी है, राइट? तो जहां पे आप ले रहे हो किसी से जानबूझ के, खींच के, बिना कंसेंट के, तो फिर वो हो जाता है थेफ्ट, right? So if I put a gun on your head and I take something away from you, that is going to be theft, which is now robbery, right? तो यहाँ पे extortion नहीं है, because extortion में आप देते हो, right? On the other hand, if I put a gun on your head and I ask you to give me something, I ask you hand over your wallet, जैसे वो होता है ना, कई बार बोलते हैं कि भाई I got mugged. Mugged में है कि भाई I was walking on the road and somebody put a gun on my head and said, give me all the valuables that are there in your pockets. तो आपने फटाफट अपने सारे valuables उस बंदे के हाथ में दे दिए. तो अब वो क्या हुआ? वो भी रॉबरी है, पर वो रॉबरी इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि थेफ्ट से है, वो रॉबरी इसलिए है क्योंकि वो एक्सटॉर्शन से है. ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे इंस्टेंट इंजरी का आपको फियर था, इसीलिए आपने कंसेंशुअली अपनी चीजें दे दी, राइट? तो एक्सटॉर्शन में हमेशा कंसेंट होता है, और वेराज जब आप थेफ्ट की बात कर रहे हो, थेफ्ट में ये कंसेंट जो है मिसिंग होता है. दैट्स द बेसिक डिफरेंस. अदरवाइज रॉबरी दोनों ही हो सकती है. इट कुड बी थेफ्ट कन्वर्टिंग इनटू रॉबरी और इट कुड बी एक्सटॉर्शन कन्वर्टिंग इनटू रॉबरी. either of the two scenarios would be there. Okay, I hope you're clear now, खुशी. Okay, चलो. अब हमारा नेक्स्ट आता है डिकॉइटी. ये सब कोरिलेटेड है, जब हम थेफ्ट, रॉबरी, डिकॉइटी करते हैं, डिकॉइटी इज आल्सो कोरिलेटेड. डिकॉइटी क्या बोल रहा है? डिकॉइटी इज सेइंग व्हेन इट इज 5 persons or more than 5 persons who are committing or attempting to commit a robbery, right? तो ब्यूटी क्या है इसमें कि भाई पहले बात है कि 5 बंदे होने चाहिए, राइट? एंड इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है कि चाहे आप कमिट कर रहे हो रॉबरी या आप अटेम्प्ट कर रहे हो, राइट? तो मे बी यू आर इन द बैंक एंड इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ their entire robbery taking place, right? और तभी पुलिस आके वो पकड़ लेती है, तो वो भी डेकोइटी होगा. एंड इवन अटेम्प्ट वुड बी डेकोइटी. दैट मीन्स आपने पूरी प्लानिंग करी है एंड आप एकदम अभी दरवाजे पे ही पहुंचे हो बैंक के, है ना, अभी आपने शुरू भी नहीं करा, यू आर अबाउट टू एंटर एंड सडनली यू सी पुलिस एंड सडनली द पुलिस सीज यू एंड इट कैचेज यू. तो अभी आपने रॉबरी करा तो नहीं है, बट आप अटेम्प्ट करने वाले थे रॉबरी, राइट? सो देयर इज एन अटेम्प्ट टू कमिट रॉबरी हैपनिंग हियर, but still that attempt to commit robbery will create the offense of dacoity, right? तो dacoity में, या इसको हम हिंदी में डकैती भी बोलते हैं, वो डकैती dacoity एक ही होता है. तो जो ये आपका डकैती होता है, ये क्या होता है? ये सिर्फ कमिट करना नहीं है, ये अटेम्प्ट को भी पनिश कर देता है, right? So this is a little tricky, important thing you always keep in mind when you're looking at a question of dacoity, because dacoity में normally हम याद क्या रखते हैं कि 5 बने, कि 5 जने अगर इकट्ठे कर रहे हैं तो वो dacoity होगा, right? But what we forget is that even the attempt would amount to dacoity. Okay, couple of questions. Ria says in robbery, okay, ma'am, if in a question facts of extortion and fear is instant, is the answer extortion or not? See, बच्चा, अगर आपका प्रिंसिपल सिर्फ एक्सटॉर्शन का दिया है, आपका प्रिंसिपल में रॉबरी मेंशन्ड ही नहीं है, तो फिर आपका आंसर एक्सटॉर्शन ही होगा, ठीक है? बिकॉज जब भी आप रॉबरी की बात करते हो, रॉबरी में पहले एक्सटॉर्शन होगा और फिर उसके बाद वो रॉबरी बनता है. तो अगर एक्सटॉर्शन तो होना उसका जरूरी ही है. सो एवरी रॉबरी इज एक्चुअली एन एग्रीवेटेड फॉर्म ऑफ एक्सटॉर्शन ओनली, ठीक है? तो अगर आपके प्रिंसिपल अगर रॉबरी नहीं लिखा है तो आप उसको एक्सटॉर्शन ही मार्क करोगे. ओके, दैट वाज सानिया. Yes, Vrinda, just the number of people are going to be there. So isn't it wrong to call a bank robbery when it is done by 5 or more people? Yes, very very wrong indeed. तभी वो एक होता है common, it is just a normal, it's not really a legal term when you call it a bank robbery if it is committed by 7 people. तो वो एक अब नॉर्मल लैंग्वेज में आप उसको यूज कर सकते हो, राइट? बट इट इज नॉट समथिंग विच इज लीगली करेक्ट. लीगली इट इज गोइंग टू बी डेकोइटी, ठीक? Okay, 5. Ria says there's a question. 5 people just planned to rob a bank, but only 3 showed up on the final day. So will they be liable to attempt to commit? See, attempt नहीं. अच्छा, डेकोइटी में क्या चीज है कि प्रेपरेशन भी पनिशेबल है. डेकोइटी इज वन ऑफ दोज एक्सेप्शंस. नॉर्मली जब हम क्रिमिनल रॉन्ग्स की बात करते हैं, हम बोलते हैं कि भैया अगर आपने अटेम्प्ट करा है तो सिर्फ अटेम्प्ट जो है पनिशेबल नहीं होता है. सॉरी, अटेम्प्ट पनिशेबल होता है एंड कमीशन पनिशेबल होता है. उससे पहले की जितने भी क्रिमिनल 2 स्टेजेस होते हैं आपकी, प्रेपरेशन एंड इंटेंशन, वो पनिशेबल नहीं होते. बट डेकोइटी में इवन द प्रेपरेशन स्टेज इज पनिशेबल, which means if you made a plan, 6 people have made a plan कि हम बैंक रॉब करेंगे, so that is also punishable and covered under the concept of dacoity, right? That is also going to be covered under the concept of dacoity. Okay. Adiba says, if any stranger asked me to make a phone call from my cell and I gave him the same, but he ran away with it, what will be the scenario then? Will that be theft or extortion? That will be theft, because here you did not consent to give the phone away to him. That was just, oh no, that will not be theft also, because आपके possession में phone है क्या? नहीं. Possession से आपने दूसरे को दे दिया. You've entrusted the phone to somebody else. That means the phone is not even in your possession. तो ना ये theft है, ना ये extortion है. बिकॉज एक्सटॉर्शन में क्या चाहिए होता है? एक्सटॉर्शन में आपका कंसेंट फियर की वजह से दिया गया है, पर यहाँ पे फियर तो था ही नहीं, राइट? देन इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी थेफ्ट, इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी एक्सटॉर्शन, rather it is going to be which offense? Yes, Sanya, it is going to be criminal breach of trust, right? तो criminal breach of trust में क्या होता है? That आपने कोई property किसी को entrust करी है and that person breaches your trust, right? So here it is going to be criminal breach of trust. आपने अपना फोन किसी को entrust करा था, यूज करने के लिए stranger को दिया था. अगर stranger उसको लेके भाग जाता है, then he is breaching the trust which you had reposed on him, right? So that's going to be your criminal breach of trust. Okay. In dacoity, it has to be more than 5 people. Tanvi, yes. तो अगर question में 5 person, it says 5 or more. तो अगर 5 or more लोग हैं जो कि प्लान कर रहे हैं कहीं रॉबरी कमिट करना, that would also be punished as preparation to commit a dacoity. Okay, but always remember ये चीज दी होनी चाहिए. अगर ये चीज नहीं दी है आपके उसमें तो फिर liability नहीं होगी, right? So but it has to be given in your passage itself. Okay, so that is criminal breach of trust. So basically when you talk of criminal breach of trust, the idea is that you are going to breach the trust. Okay, you are not you've entrusted the person with the property, right? तो यहाँ पे consent ना ही as theft and extortion से बिल्कुल अलग है criminal breach of trust, because theft में आपकी consent के बगैर ले रहे थे. Without your consent, somebody was taking it out of your possession. Whereas in extortion, they were putting fear in your mind and then they were taking it away. Whereas criminal breach of trust में वो चीज आपके possession में है ही नहीं. You know, in both extortion and theft, आप किसी को दे रहे हो. That means आपके पास थी वो चीज. Criminal breach of trust में आप already किसी को चीज दे चुके हो. It is already in another person's possession. और वो दूसरे वाला उस possession का misuse कर रहा है, right? So instead of giving it back to you, what is he doing? He's taking it away and running. Right? So that is when he is breaking your trust. So that is your criminal breach of trust. एक और similar चीज आती है इसमें जिसको हम बोलते हैं criminal misappropriation. Criminal misappropriation में क्या होता है? यहाँ पे आपने किसी को entrust करा है कुछ देके. Whereas when we talk of criminal misappropriation, here you are not even entrusting, rather somebody just takes it away from you, right? So when you are talking about criminal misappropriation, it's something like, you know, you find something lying on the road. जिसका सबसे important and सबसे common example होता है वो finder of goods वाला, कि भाई कोई चीज पड़ी है सड़क पे and आप उसको उठा के ले गए अपने पास. Right, so you find a beautiful, ring. No, Clat वालों का favorite example होता है ring वाला. You see a beautiful ring lying on the road and you pick it up and you take it away. Right. So what are you doing? Are you taking it out of somebody's possession? No. But are you? Is it yours? Do you have any right over it? No. So what are you doing? You are appropriating something for your own use, over which you do not have any right. So since you do not have any right to appropriate, वो अपने लिए इस्तेमाल, अपने use के लिए, अपना बनाना, आपके पास कोई legal right नहीं है उसको, then what are you doing? You are committing the wrong of criminal misappropriation. Okay. Now what if there is a person who died in a road accident, और वो बंदा सड़क पे लेटा हुआ है and he's wearing this beautiful big diamond ring, you know, and a big diamond bracelet. कोई jeweler होगा, खूब diamond ring and diamond bracelet पहना हुआ है उसने, and you see him lying on the road. You're like one of those really greedy people. आप क्या करते हो? आप उसकी diamond ring और bracelet जो है चोरी कर लेते हो. So what have you committed now? Which of the offenses that we've studied in today's class have you committed? Tell me. If there's a guy who's lying on the road dead, आपने उसकी rings और उसकी bracelets उठा के अपनी जेब में डाल के ले गए. What are you committing? Are you committing theft? Are you committing extortion? Are you committing robbery? Are you committing criminal breach of trust? Are you committing criminal misappropriation? What are you committing? That's where I'm going to leave you today. Yeah, I think most of you got it right. Yes, except for maybe Ayush. No, Arpita, that's not misappropriation. That will be theft. Because वो बंदे ने अभी पहनी हुई है. He's not lost them. That means they're still in his possession, right? The person might be dead. तो या फिर वो उसके possession में है या फिर constructive possession में उसके हैं जिसको ये property जानी है, right? So whoever are the legal heirs of this person, right? They have a right over the property, or the individual wearing it has a right over that property. You, a stranger, does not have right over it, right? And here it is not going to be criminal misappropriation because the person is still wearing it. It is still in the possession, right? तो वो still उसकी possession में है, इसलिए ऐसा नहीं बोलोगे कि ये random पड़ी हुई थी चीज और आपने उठा ली, right? So that is going to be theft only. Okay. If the ring falls from his finger and is lying around, then it is going to be misappropriation. Okay, boss, फिर तो वो पड़ी हुई है, you're a finder of good, right? Then it is going to be misappropriation, right? Chalo. Then we call it a day, and I hope it was a good quick revision for all of you. जो कुछ tricky parts होते हैं वो हमेशा याद रखने हैं, right? Because most of the times the questions are either asked on them or they are the ones which tend to confuse you. Okay, chalo then. I hope this revision, because she is telling me much needed. I'm glad it was needed, and I'm glad I was able to clear some of the doubts there. Okay, chalo. Take care, everybody, and hope to see you around soon in the next session. Okay, chalo. Take care, everybody. Bye bye. Have a great evening. Good night.